Welcome to the Art She Manages, a podcast dedicated to remarkable women in arts and cultural management. I'm Alma, your host. My guest today is Marie-Louise Stille, Associate Artist Manager at Ekkehard Jung Artists and Projects Agency in Berlin. In this episode, we discuss her professional journey from Argentina to major European cities, her international education and cultural management, the challenges of working in concert agencies, and her advice for emerging artists. Marie-Louise also shares her experience as both a mentee in the German Cultural Council's mentoring program for women and as a mentor, co-founding the Women in Arts and Media Network. Welcome to the show, Marie-Louise. Thank you very much for being here and for accepting my invitation.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
So let's start. You were born in Argentina, and I have to admit it as well that aside from tango and Teatro Colón in Buenos Aires, people often don't know much about Argentina, and neither do I. And so could you please share how you first discovered your passion for theater and what role the Argentinian cultural scene played in shaping you?
Yes, maybe before to start a little context about me to understand a little, I was born into a German-Argentinian family. My dad is German, my mom is Argentinian, but she has a German dad as well. I was born in Argentina and grew up in Argentina. So I went to school. The very first years of my life I spent there. And maybe also to understand, I don't really come from a very artistic family. I mean, my dad is historian. My mom is a doctor. She worked at the university as well. But they were very passionate about culture. My dad was always listening music, all kind of music, but also classical music. And my mom is a passionate cinema enthusiast. I remember always we were together looking for different movies when I was a child. But to your question, I think I really discovered my passion for theater, doing theater actually. I went sometimes to the theater with my dad, but actually I remember when I was about 15 years old during the high school time, I just wake up one day and I say to me, I want to do theater.
Wow.
But yes, but I didn't have any clue what that means. I only had in my head, okay, theater is where the people, it's a building where the people go, they take place and they see a play. And theater is about actors or actresses playing a play on the stage. That was all what I knew at that time. So that was because I started training as actress in a theater school in my city in Cordoba. That's the second biggest city in Argentina after Buenos Aires. During the same time, I was going to high school. So I was doing this training as actress during the weekends. And I don't know, I discovered during this training all the world of theater, but not only as actress, but also the other profession like director, the technician, all what's mean to do a play. And at some point, I discovered myself assisting the director of the school for the other plays of the other students.
Oh, wow. How did that happen?
I don't know. I just was someday, I think I was in my second year, and he asking someday, yeah, I have a new play, who want to assist me? And I just say, I will like to do it. But I didn't have any clue what that means, But then, yeah, I discovered this part of the work as well, not to be on stage, to be behind stage, what important is as well. So that happened. And then at some point when I finished the high school, I decided that I wanted to do this for the rest of my life, maybe. And yes, I decided to go there to the university. But actually, I think it was for me, I just was discovering a new world, that is the theater world, without thinking at that time that it could be a profession. It just happened. And I went to my mom and said, I want to do theater the rest of my life. She said, okay, if you want to do theater, you have to go to the university anyway. Mm-hmm. And that was very fun because in Argentina, in Cordoba, we have a very big university. Is the second oldest university in Latin America. Wow. And they have an arts department and theatrical studies. So I started there. But Actually, when I started my studies in theater, I was looking to become a director. I just wanted to place theater as director. I just wanted to put plays on stage and tell stories. That was actually my goal at that time. I was not thinking about the other thing would happen. I just wanted, I had this feeling, okay, I have the stage, I have the actors, the actress, I want to put a play. That was my idea at the time about theater. Also in Argentina, there is a very big underground theater scene. We have some big theater, as you say, for example, Teatro Colón is the most well known, is for opera especially, and for ballet in Buenos Aires. But we have a very big underground scene. And at
Interesting.
the end, yes, and at the end, what happened? You want to be an actor, and then you find yourself doing direction, production, selling the ticket at the box office before the performance, doing scenography, doing everything. So, doing some of my projects at the university and the underground in Cordoba, I also took some of these organization issues, you know. And at some point, I discovered that I have some kind of talent for organization, and that not all people wanted to take over the organization of the projects at the same time. Everybody wanted to play, but nobody wanted to think about how we can develop the projects so we can play the play at the end. So yeah, that's what some of kind during my studies I discovered this passion as well.
And did you have a role model during your childhood or studies who inspired you to pursue this path?
I have several people who inspire me artistically and personally, but it wasn't just one role model, I would say, but a mix of people who influenced me in different ways. For example, I am a big passionate in theater when I was studying theater. For example, the big masters from theater like Stanislavski, Grotowski, for example, Cantor, or
Yeah.
some group from Latin America like La Candelaria, Teatro de los Andes. They were like group that a person I say, yes, I like the job they are doing, and they inspire me in a way. Also, also with the music at that time, I started at that time to go to the opera as well. I would say because I was working at theater at some point, I say, okay, how about the opera? Because you have theater, but you have also music, but how that work together?
Do you remember your first production?
Yes, I remember. Yes, I do. It was Aida. Aida was my
Beautiful.
very first. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
was that was my first opera. And Teatro San Martin, that is in Cordoba, is they say they call it like it's a small Teatro Colón. It's also very beautiful, quite traditional. And yes, and I think at the other side was also some of my professors who invited me to work on the project while I was studying. So was kind of trust they gave me to encourage to say, yes, maybe I can do that. You know, when you say, okay, somebody's give me a chance to do something, maybe that's mean that, yes, I can do it. I have to say, a role model very important for me was my mom because, as I say, my mom was professor at the university and researching, and my parents separate when I was 4 years. And my mom at that time we didn't have any family in Argentina. We had a family in Europe, so she was doing her career at the university and taking care of three children. You know, so I will say that she gave me this idea that working and having a private life is possible, but it's not easy to have both
For
at
sure.
the same time. Yes.
Well, that's very inspiring, and I can understand why your mother is your role model. Yeah. Can you talk about the time when you decided to move to Germany?
Yes, I mean, when I finished my studies in Argentina, theatrical study and after culture management, at that time, culture management was quite new in Argentina. And actually, you learned culture management learning by doing, you know?
Yes.
And at some point, I realized, okay, I have some work experience and I would like to learn more tools to become a better culture manager. So I decided before I got a scholarship from the Spanish government to go to Madrid. And then I first made like a kind of specialization, an internship. And doing that, I realized, okay, I really want to improve more my cultural management skills. And because I am half German, I think Germany would be a good option for that. So I come to Germany to study culture management because I really wanted to start to work at the opera and at the classical music. So that's why one of the reasons because I come to Germany.
And you already kind of compared the education system in Argentina and in Germany, and especially the fact that cultural management, I would say it's in general quite a new subject. And yeah, you are right when you say that probably in Europe it's more developed. I would say probably also like the North America, Anglo-Saxon part of the world in general. But apart from that, how would you compare studying in Argentina, studying in Germany? It's like, what are the most striking differences you noticed?
I mean, I studied careers, they are quite artistic. So also culture management had an artistic background. But I can say, for example, what I really noted when I came to Germany was that, for example, in Argentina, the university is public. I had that feeling that there was maybe strong sense of community,
In Argentina.
about in Argentina and dialogue. I mean, we as students, we were really involved in discussing the structure and content of program all the time. And because university in Argentina is public, that means also that had a very important role in the society, because you are going to the university not only to get a degree, only to become a citizenship, like to become a person who is bring something to the society after that. I think we were really involved in discussing what we were studying. We were really critical. I remember when I was studying all the time, we went to class, but at the same time we were discussing why we are learning that, why we are going to see this play and not the other, and was a quite very open dialogue with our professors.
So more participatory, you would say?
Yes, for sure. I would say that. Because also of the history of Argentina, because of the political situation. I mean, you don't have to forget, it's also culture, history play a big role at the university. And my university in Argentina, Cordoba, is a big city, and the university is huge. So the students are a very big part of the society as well. Then, on the other hand, in Germany, when I was studying in Weimar and the Hochschule für Musik, Franz, it's a small university, only 800 students. But my feeling was at that time that the structure are more formal, and the student also discuss, but in another way. And also there's this very strong academic framework. You know what I mean? That you have to learn, for example, how to write at the university.
Yeah,
how
the
to write
academic
a
writing.
paper, the academic writing, for example. So that I think was really, for me, was the most big difference as well. Because I mean, when I was studying, I think at that time I was writing like between 4 or 6 papers each semester.
Crazy.
Because because my master degree was about discussing, but discussing on the paper, not discussing with the professor, actually. So I would say that was two of the biggest difference I noted in my experience. Because I was not only studying at the Franz Hochschule for Music, I was studying in Weimar. It's a special collaboration between universities. So I also had some course at the Bauhaus University and in the university in Vienna. So I would say I can compare between 4 universities now.
Wow, that's very interesting.
Yes, and was also a very big advantage for me.
So you were a recipient of a scholarship from the Deutsche Bank Stiftung. Yes, and we all know in Germany that they're doing quite an outstanding work, and they also sponsor the opera studio in Frankfurt, as far as I know. And in general, they're investing a lot in cultural youth and young talents. And in your opinion, what is the greatest value of such scholarships? I mean, beyond the prestige of the name and financial support, which is extremely important, but...
Yeah, in this case, it was the Academy Akademie Musiktheater heute. This is a program for the Deutsche Stiftung, for the German Bank Foundation. It's actually a program for young talent from the music theater. Like we say in German, Musiktheater is this idea for especially opera and new music. And I think this program for me was the experience of, especially of networking. It was also about understanding the opera in its political and artistic significance, especially what kind of opera we like to have in the future. So the program was 2 years. You have to apply with essay, with your experience, with CV, everything, as normally is. And they choose for different areas. And they have different areas. There was scenography, direction, culture management, in my case, libretti, and dramaturgy. So it's all the person they are working at the opera, but not on stage. They are working behind the scene. Yes, that is quite interesting because I think it's the only scholarship with this possibility. So the idea of the scholarship is that you have different workshops and you go to different opera houses, especially in Germany, but also in Europe. And you met the people that are doing this opera, this production, and you discuss with them and you have interviews, and all the time it's about discussion. And with this, especially with the question, what is the opera we want in the future and what opera we want to do in the future? So yes, it's about this idea that you are with some pairs. They are, maybe you don't have the same opinion sometimes and you're discussing a lot. Yes, and it was very special because one of the conditions is you don't have to be in Germany to apply for the scholarship.
So it's an international scholarship.
It's an international,
program.
but you have to speak German. So in my year, we were, I think, about 6 or 7 persons with international experience. So that made, yes, this discussion more interesting because we were not only thinking about Germany.
And you mentioned that the main point of this program was to discuss the future of the opera and what kind of the opera you would like to have in the future. And can you share some of the insights you gained?
I think one of the big topics for us was about women in leader positions. One of our big issues was at that time also about power and the theater, because it was a time when started the big scandals, you know, in theater and the opera, about big names of conductors, about
Me Too movement, yes.
The Me Too movement, yeah. So it was one of the big topics, and it was quite interesting because also we have some situation when we were confronting our guests about these topics, and some discussion didn't go really well. And was very funny because when we have a situation when I was interviewed in one of these workshops, one festival director, a very important festival in Europe, and I was confronting him about the question, why do you don't have more women conducting in your festival? And his answer was always about, yes, but actually it's not about to be a woman or to be a man, it's about talent. And we were like, okay, it's a polite answer or it's a political correct one? And it was very funny, I think, because I was feeling this pressure to discuss with this man, but my peers from the scholarship, from the academy, they were supporting me, and they were also doing this question like, and what this feeling of being together and supporting each other.
Yeah. Well, definitely very brave, you know, that at that time you were already confronting artistic directors of important festivals. And yes, this is like the most typical answer they give. Yeah, it's not about quotas, it's about the talent. Let's come back slightly to your international experience and your international experience in working in different places and countries. So you worked in Buenos Aires, then you mentioned Madrid, and then of course Germany, but we will come back to Germany. And I also saw that you work in Amsterdam. So
Correct.
What were some of the most striking differences you noticed while working in cultural institutions in these different locations, in these different cultures?
I think one of the biggest differences is also about the money. I mean, you know, the resources you have for each company is quite different. If you have the resources, it's more easy the job. That it doesn't mean that the production will be better, because this is also about your idea about this. But of course, the money. Of course, the difference, as we said before, story, political situation. I noted when I was in Amsterdam and the Dutch National Opera, they were really working very hard to have this connection with society, with the Amsterdam society because they are a national opera company. And they really wanted to take the audience into the opera and say, we want you to be proud of your company and we are your company, That was this kind of relationship I found quite interesting at that time. Because, for example, when I was working in Madrid at the Compañía Nacional de Danza, they were doing amazing productions, but I didn't have this feeling of that they were really connecting at that time with the society from Madrid, with to say we are your national company.
So it's all about this participatory, collaborative models, and in your experience, you experienced that more in Amsterdam, that they were including more the society.
Yes, because it's also because of the fundraising as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, and after working in so many diverse environments, you decided to settle in Germany. What does Germany's cultural sector offer that other countries don't?
I think especially we have this German theater system, we have more or less 140 theater with own orchestra, ensemble, and a lot of festival. And not only the big city, also in the small cities. We have an amazing underground scene as well as music, opera, theater. I'm based in Berlin and you have each day about 30, 40 offers to go for music theater. Also not another big cities as well as Hamburg, Munich, Frankfurt. At the same time, I think German culture sector is well known and offer a lot of possibilities to work worldwide. We are not only working in Germany, we have also possibilities to work with another markets. And the German market is becoming more important. It was always important, but it's becoming more important because some big agencies are having now office also in Germany. Maybe not in the big cities, maybe in another cities, but they are also based here. The big companies, they still are in London, the very big agencies, but they are also opening here. And that's how important it's becoming the German market, or to have a presence in Germany as well.
So you mentioned agencies, and in fact, you worked as an artist assistant manager at a very big and important agency, Opus 3. Could you tell us more about your experience? And, I feel like many people, and especially many artists, I would say as well, underestimate the role of assistants. They think of them as office people, paperwork. So what are the most common misconceptions about this work, in your opinion?
At that time, when I started to work in an agency, I really was also sure what it meant to be an assistant, because I got the offer when I was working in Amsterdam, and I say, okay, maybe I can try to work in an agency, because I was curious also what does mean to be an artist agent. So the first step in the business, normally, if you want to work there, is to start as assistant, because the structure is you have an artist manager who is running, the artist. And as assistant, you are taking all the, as you say, the paperwork or the organization, because normally in the artist agency, the manager made the deals, contact the promoter, and then is the call to the assistant to finish the contract, to prepare everything. I think a big misconception is that a lot of people think that everybody can handle this role. Like organization, it's not a lot of work. Come on, it's only to book a flight. It's only to take care of the artist agenda. It's only to read a contract. How difficult is that? It's a lot of work, actually.
Yeah, I can imagine. And did you feel prepared for that kind of job?
When I started,
yes.
Kind of, because my work in Amsterdam, the artistic administration was taking care of the communication with the agency, so I changed the side. And I was also controlling the contracts, for example. But the new part of the work was about the logistic, for example, because you have an artist who is conducting next week, but maybe in 6 months he's going to America and you have to apply for the visa today because deadline is tomorrow, and you are working on different fronts, It's also the way you learn the business. And it's the first step to become, maybe later, an artist manager if you want, because you get experience, you know how to work with artists, with promoter,
Yeah, for sure.
Because you are working not only sometimes with production, with concert, with opera productions, also you're working with recording, sometimes with tours. So it's very big. at the
So
same
you are
time.
right in the middle of basically everything, yeah? You're like,
Yes.
you have to communicate with every single department and every single potential partner.
I mean, you can train in, you can learn the skills, but you have to be quite open and you have to have a lot of passion and resilience because sometimes everybody coming to you and everybody wants to have something from you and you have to learn to have priorities.
Yeah, for sure. I personally find that the whole like agency sector and agency area is very, very interesting, and there are lots of things to learn and lots of misconceptions. I heard so many times, oh my God, what are they even doing there? Just like taking commissions. It's like we're doing the whole job. It's like, well, not really. It's like without them, you wouldn't even be doing that job.
No, this is interesting because yes, you're taking the commission, but until you get engagement for an artist, maybe you wrote like 40 emails, you met about 10 promoters, and you were discussing 5 programs until you get one engagement.
Yeah, definitely some food for thoughts, let's say that.
Yeah.
So while I was preparing for this interview, I just noticed that the topic mentorship runs like a red thread, through your whole life and your career. So, there is a saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So when did you realize that you actually needed a mentor? And what motivated you to apply to the mentorship program Women in Culture and Media?
I think it was during COVID, especially because it was this time when we didn't have a lot to do because everything was quiet. And I was thinking maybe COVID is a good opportunity to think about the future. At that time, not quite sure if I wanted to stay in the music business or I wanted to maybe try again with theater. So when I found out that it was this program, I thought maybe it could be a good experience to find somebody who has also experience in arts. And maybe this person could be another perspective because, as I say, I have a lot of options and I have a lot of ideas. And sometimes you need somebody who says, okay, maybe can have another input.
Mm-hmm.
So I applied for the program and I got an amazing mentor. And he gave me a new very perspective about what could be the next station in my career. At that time, my mentor was Bernard Glocksen. He was the artistic director of the Neue Oper Berlin. So we spent these 6 months was the time that the program gave us to work as mentee and mentor, and that at some point we developed a friendship and we continue meet each other and speaking about my career, and at some point he started to speak about his career as well with me. So it was funny because he finished after 28 years his position as artistic director at the Neue Oper, and I was very happy to accompany him, in this process as well. So yeah, the program was not only about the mentor, it was also to have the possibility to meet another woman who were thinking about what does it mean to become a leader in the culture sector. They were also confronting with this question.
After completing the mentoring program, you co-founded the Women in Arts and Media initiative, yeah?
Yes.
And can you tell us more about this project and what inspired you to continue working on mentorship? And especially I'm very curious about the transition from being a mentee to a mentor yourself.
Yes, I mean, when we finish the program, the women were at that time there, they start to thinking about what would happen if the program finished with this network that we have. And at some point we say, okay, maybe we should have an initiative, or like you say in German, a Verein, an organization, to keep in contact and to working together about this idea to get a more equal cultural sector. So we found in the WEM, at the time when we founded, we were about 41 women. And today the network has expanded to 400.
Oh, wow.
That's about in only 3 years. And we have different formats. I mean, we are not only women from music, theater, from galleries. We have people from libraries, from architecture, I think, from media. And we have some regional forums. So we met online or we met each other. For example, we have forum in Berlin, Hamburg, Stuttgart, and Munich, international as well, because there are some members, they are living outside of Germany. And one of the most important things in WEM is about mentorship. So when they asked me to be mentor for this mentoring day that we have 2 years ago, it was quite new for me. It was a great experience because I took all the experience I have as mentee, but it was a great feeling to become a mentor because it was, okay, I know what you feel to be a mentee, so don't worry, we are together in this. And I learned a lot from my mentor, but I also learned a lot from my mentee.
And do you have lots of mentees?
No, no more. I have at that time, but when somebody write me or ask me for an idea, I'm very happy to help as well. But now, currently, I don't have an official mentee.
So let's talk about your job. You are an associate artist manager. What were your expectations, going into this role?
Yeah, I think one of the expectations I had when I went into this role was to take more responsibility about the strategy of the career of the artist, not only doing the organization, how we can develop the career of this artist in 3, 5, 10 years, where we want to go with this person together. Especially was also to expand my professional network because I have been working more with promoters directly, with decision takers, also to get more experience in the music industry. And I think one of the biggest challenges I noted when I started in this position was to maintain a balance between organization and strategy. Because you are really, really, really busy each day to making the organization, to making, okay, the artist next week is going there and then and there, but also to thinking, okay, but then we have this meeting and we have to think about the planning with this orchestra in 5 years. But also, I have a lot of fun because it's a really good moment when you start a project, for example, and then when it's finished, the orchestra reinvite the artist for a
Yeah.
second concert some years later, or they offer a position as music director, as guest director. And this is one of the things you say, well, we did a good job together. From the management side and from the artist side, we work together to get this.
So you mentioned the strategies, and I mean, the strategic thinking is one of the most important skills that every leader or like every person who's working in management should have and develop. How difficult is it to develop that strategy and to think about long-term goals in the cultural sector, when we are so dependent on the external circumstances? For example, like wars are happening, fundings are being cut, theaters are being shut down, and here we are, we have to think about long-term strategy. How challenging is it?
It's a big challenge because we cannot see in the future. I mean, we cannot read minds. It's really difficult, but it's about the experience. It's about trust. Sometimes you can take bad decision. It is possible. We are people. We make mistake as well. But it's about to be honest with your artist. I think it's important to say, I think we can do that, or maybe it's not now the time. Maybe we have to wait a little for this orchestra or for this program. Is I think strategy is about experience, but also about to be honest.
It's probably the most challenging part, because like agents play such a crucial role, in developing and establishing artists' careers, and there are so many expectations. It's like, oh my god, I just got an artist manager, so my career is about to skyrocket. And when things do not happen like that and go maybe like another way, then there is a very big degree of disappointment.
Of course, and you really try as manager to do the best you can, but sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes it's also some luck, and you cannot control everything. You can do a great job. Maybe you can write to 40, 50 orchestras, and you don't get any invitation for your art. That is possible as well. That's why I think it's really important to think that the work between a manager and an artist is about a teamwork. You work together. It's not only I get a manager, oh great, my career is starting, I have to wait for the concert. You have, in my opinion, still working on your network.
Well, so artists who are listening to this episode and are inspired by your philosophy and your way of working, like if they wanted to reach out to you, what should they do and what are the biggest like no-goes?
I think the most important about to write to an artist manager, for example, is first do your research. Look at the website of the agency. Look if they are working with singer or not, or they are working with conductors or not, for example. I think it's quite important. And in my opinion, the best first contact is by email. And please, that the materials are top quality, like a strong CVD, professional picture if it's possible. For example, a link to your website. And for example, in our case, because we work mostly with conductors, please, video material is quite important. I know it's difficult to get these materials, very expensive as well, but it's your presentation. I mean, I read all emails. I cannot reply immediately sometimes. Also, if you have, for example, concerts, it's a good idea to invite the manager to the concert, to have a personal chat, for example. And if it doesn't work out at the first time, keep the contact. I mean, if the manager say no, maybe we don't have capacity now, or maybe in the future, maybe in 3, 4, 5 years, it's a possibility to work with this manager together. So please try to keep the relationship in a good way, you know?
Yeah, so
For
not only,
example,
okay, you don't serve my purpose anymore, so yes, this opportunistic way.
no, as I say, it's about to work on your network.
Yeah, for sure. And you've just mentioned that you manage conductors. And this is another area where women are heavily underrepresented. And from your perspective, what misconceptions and stereotypes do women conductors still face today?
Yes. I think when I was studying and my master degree in Weimar, I noticed, for example, that there were less women studying conducting as men. And then I also noticed when I went to theater, for example, or to opera production or working there as well, that women didn't have the opportunity to move from assistant to music director roles. And I don't know why, but my feeling is normally when a female conductor is approached by an orchestra by the very first time, they ask her to conduct family-friendly programs with small orchestration. Is one point, and the other is now some years ago started this idea more. We noted we need more women conductors. We didn't have enough, and at some point were a lot of orchestra asking only for women. Yeah, we want women. We want a woman for this concert. But
Probably
then
because
they
of
were
quotas, yes.
yes, but actually was for the quota, of course, because also it was required by the society and the politic to have more women, especially in public-funded orchestras. But they were asking sometimes from program where you say, but this person didn't conduct it. What are you asking for that now? You know, they were given a lot of pressure. And we know that if you have a bad critic, it's quite difficult to start again sometimes, especially with major orchestras. And I think another point is this stereotype that a woman cannot conduct like a man, because we have this idea conductor is a man with authority who come and say the 100 orchestra musician, okay, let's do it, and it's in this way. And of course, a woman cannot conduct like a man because it's not a man. And sometimes I have this idea, what does it mean to conduct like a man? Because the professor, mentor, decision makers, music director, they are all men. So it's the idea we have as a conductor. So I think it's important to give also the woman the possibility to find their own way to conduct and to be patient. It will take some years before we have more women with more experience to conduct big orchestra with big programs. It's about time.
And looking back at your diverse career so far, yeah, so you worked as an assistant stage director, and another topic that we haven't explored, you're a cultural journalist as well. Like looking back at these diverse perspectives, is there a particular project or event that felt like a turning point for you, for your career?
Yeah, I think it was coming to Germany for my master degree in culture and media management, because at that point I was in my middle 20s and I had already work experience. And when I decided to come to Germany, I had to stop my career because first I had to improve my German. I am German, but I didn't go to the high school in Germany. So it was required a C1 for the master degree. And after I did this exam for the university, I had to apply for the master degree, and that took about a year maybe. And after I finished my studies, I have my master degree, but I didn't have any networking at that time. So I have to start from zero, like assistant. And so I think that's a very turning point to think, okay, what can I do now if I really wanted to start from zero again after
Yeah.
10 years in business?
Yeah, lots of people can relate to that because in cultural management, there are so many people who come from different careers, or maybe they had artistic careers and then at a certain point they decided to quit it or maybe just like reduce it. And it's always a very big challenge to start from scratch. And finally, what do you wish you had been told about the industry before starting out? And what would you tell somebody who is just starting out, who wants to build a career in the arts?
Well, I'm not quite sure if I wish somebody had given me some advice when I started, because at the end you have to make your own experience in order to grow and gain confidence. I mean, advice are amazing, but I think the own experience is sometimes better. And I believe that where I am now is the result of my own decision and experience, and sometimes with some luck and being in the right place. But I have to say, it depends of the advice, but I am a little, as you say in Argentina, cabeza dura is stubborn, you know. When I want to get something, I go for it. But I think I try to stay true to myself and find my own style. And it's amazing to have models who inspire you, but don't try to become them. Don't try to be the other person, because each person is the result of their own experience or dreams and feelings. And I think it's important to say, if you find yourself in a place where you don't feel good or you are not being supported and you have the possibility to change, then change. Don't stay there. If you want to start over, do it. Surround yourself also with the people you can support in your journey, like your family, your friends, your network, your colleagues, your mentors. Yeah, the people who support you, who inspire you, who are there for you. And I think it's important to say, we speak a lot about mentorship. If you feel that a mentor could be helpful for you, look for someone who inspires you and ask them to be your mentor. It might be someone within your organization or outside of your organization. It could be a professor, it could be anybody. But I'm really sure that the people, they want to help another people. And sometimes it's only about the question to ask. And about leadership, we speak about a lot of leadership today. I think it's a lot of work, but also a lot of self-confidence. And in my experience, it's also about to have a person who believes in you and give you the opportunity. But especially it's about to believe in yourself and to take the first step in become the person you want to be. And that depends only on you, not on the environment, not on the person. It's about to take the decision, say, I want to do that. And if you are feeling that you don't want to become a leader, don't do it. Just be an amazing expert. That is also important. We need also good people who can do good job in this industry.
Amen. That was amazing. Thank you very much for being here today with me and for sharing your inspiring story. I wish you all the best with your mission and your meaningful contribution to the landscape of female leadership and mentorship.
Thank you so much.
You have listened to The Art She Manages. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow the show and leave a positive review on whichever platform you're listening. It really helps more people discover these stories. Feel free to share the episode with someone you think would be inspired by it. Until next time!